You should always follow your instinct when it comes to your car that you've owned for a long time. See, the owner of this 2007 Lexus RX 350 followed their instinct. They heard a noise they didn't like, and then they couldn't hear it anymore, but they still decided to take it to our shop and get it inspected to see what is that noise from the engine. And as we go through the video, you're going to realize he actually saved his engine from potential catastrophe here. Let's roll through the video. Let's listen to the noise. We'll diagnose it. We're actually going to fix it in this video as well, and we'll get everything going well for this car right after this. So let us first start with listening to this engine. By the way, this engine is 2GRFE, 3.5 liter V6. Basically, they put this in almost every car in this era. So here's a clip of that engine running. I want you to pay close attention and see if you can catch the noise. I don't know if it was clear on camera, and it's actually barely noticeable. It sounds a little bit louder when it's warmed up, but it is there, and the owner heard it, then it got a little less. That, just from experience, because I've heard that noise a lot with 2GRs, that is a water pump pulley that has come loose. I cannot emphasize how not a good idea to just keep driving on a pulley that is like that. I mean, if we have a water pump leak, it's not a big leak, we can live with it. We top off the coolant. When a pulley gets loose like that, it is ready to launch out of this engine, and that is definitely road to catastrophe with this engine, which otherwise would run for a very long time. So let's start our diagnosis, because just because I have heard this noise a lot and I already have an idea of what's going on, doesn't mean we just go, oh yeah, it needs a water pump. We gotta verify. And the first verification is, I'm looking at the pulley of the water pump. You see how it's wiggling right here? Maybe hard to see it on camera, but it definitely has a wiggle. We're not gonna still go just by that. What if that is an optical illusion? Let's lift this car up. Let's take the drive belt off. Let's verify by hand. It's very simple. So in case you haven't seen another video that we did where we talked about a 2GR, here's the easiest way to take the belt off. This is a tensioner right here. See this hole, this opening right here? So we're gonna grab a 14, grab this pulley, pull the tensioner down. You see how this is gonna line up right there? We're gonna take a kind of a medium length M6 bolt, put it there. This locks the tensioner in that position, and now your belt is loose. So we're just gonna pull our belt out. 2GR has one of the strangest belt orientations I have seen. We have belt issues. This belt I've seen better days. See, the piece of it is starting to fray right here, and that's because the water pump is not having it. So let's pull this off. And we'll see what you see here. Okay, so the water pump is right here. This is your water pump. Give you a little bit of light so you can see it. See that pulley? This is your water pump right here. Just watch what it does when I move it. See that? And you can even hear it. Let me try to get a better angle so you can see it as I move it. See that? That was exactly, I want you to hear that noise. That is the exact frequency of the noise. Let me shake it with that. See that? The bearing is gone on this water pump. So we're gonna need a water pump on this car, which we're gonna do once we talk to the customer. But before we talk to the customer, let's take a quick look around this car, see what we got going on with it. I'm just looking around here a little bit. I see this idler's been replaced. Tensioner pulley
doesn't make any noise. That upper one has also been replaced, so that's quiet. Compressor spins freely. Our steering, don't have any play. Just for reference, the water pump should be completely solid in every car. You should never have any play with it. Now I do see some oil leaks, seepages, see a little bit of wetness there, a little bit of wetness here. So let's investigate it. Let's look at our brakes. These look pretty good. Guesstimated right around 8-9 millimeters. These look newer. They are aftermarket, just fine. Folks, the way I know aftermarket pads is some of you have asked in previous videos, the shim and the material, like the paint on the pad right there, that don't look like deal with the original parts all day long. That is not an original part, I can tell you that much. Now we didn't have an opportunity to test this wheel, but this should give us a rough reference. I don't see any play here. Now we do have another thing here. The rack and pinion, very common on these RXs, that's leaking. When you see a boot like that, don't just go replace a boot. Why did the boot pop? Because there's fluid inside that made it pop. That's why. Control arm has a few cracks at the top. This is not cause for alarm. I don't see separation of the bushing. Let's look at the bottom. I also don't see anything. So I think this side is good. Let's go check the other side real quick. Don't have any play. I think that's good. Let's raise it up. Let me take this big cover off and we'll see. So let's take a quick look here. I don't see anything hemorrhaging. I see a little bit of wetness here, a little bit there. We'll talk about those, but I don't see anything actively dripping on the floor from the front, at least. So let me take this cover off. Let's see what this 2GR has in store for us. It came intact. That was a surprise. I was not expecting that to happen. I lost a bolt. Get that, and there's two cicadas here. Folks, it is cicada season in Chicagoland. These very interesting creatures. Okay, well, this gives us a better picture. So I see like seepages. This is what I call this, seepage. Something like this. We're either looking at a rear main or this upper oil pan. Hard to tell until this gets worse, but I don't think we have a concern here. It's a car with miles. We're not going to go tearing half the car for not even a drip. Same thing here. This is actually this cover on the transfer case. Engine has to come out for this because this cover has sealer right here. You have to literally pull the whole thing and pull that. And then equally this, yeah, this is a little bit more. You see a few drips forming right there. Come around to the back, you'll see them better, like right there. But again, this might have been built up over time. It's leaking. It ain't gonna stop on its own. It's only gonna get worse from here. If we look right across here, you see it more. That's a front timing cover leaking. I see so many folks go replace a power steering pump. A month later, it's back to the same thing. It's a front timing cover. It's very common on these. Not the end of the world, but then we look up here. I'm checking for an external head gasket leak. I don't see anything. It's hard to show you on camera because this thing has the rack way up high and transfer case here. But I don't see anything here. Something very important you check on every 2GR. Oil cooler lines. You see these are metal right here. We are in good shape. If these are metal, we are in good shape. If they're rubber, replace them. Now we're looking up here, radiator, I don't see anything at the bottom. You do see that ugly clamp. Garden hose clamp right there and the lower radiator hose. Wonder if somebody's been here. I feel like somebody spilled something because there's literally oil on the fan. Fans usually don't have oil. Over here, got again a little seepage. So you'll see this a lot with Toyotas. See this? Your mechanic will tell you it's a transpan gasket. Well, I'd be careful about that because you see this seam right here. That's actually the case half. If you follow that seam all the way up, that's where the leak is originating. So it'll just leaking from the top to the bottom. Now, there are cases where indeed it is the transpan gasket, but for something like this, I don't even have a drop. I barely have a haze. We're gonna keep an eye on it. But there's one more thing I noticed as we were looking here. We got a little leaky CV boot here. Looks fresh. Look at that. Look at this dry rot right here. You see that? That's a pretty bad dry rot right there. Now there's a first thing that I see about this axle. This is an aftermarket axle. And how do I know that? Look at the clamps. Now I just know that from the shape of the boot, but look at these clamps. These are not factory clamps. This one, that one. And then if we look at the inner one, there it is, same thing. These are not factory clamps. When you see that, somebody might say, well, maybe somebody replaced them with aftermarket, but we're not gonna go Inspector Gadget on this thing. If there's signs it's an aftermarket one, the problem is the boots won't sit when you do. We've been through this, we tried. When you have an aftermarket axle, the boots are different, everything is different. You can't really reboot it. Now this side is an original axle. Hey, look at that. That is the correct clamp right here. Looks beautiful. Same thing here. That's also a beautiful clamp. And you know what the best part is? I don't know when that axle was replaced, but this is the original axle to this car. No dry rot. Toyota quality for you. You go, this is what happens when you go aftermarket. Look at the inner one. No leaks. Nothing. I don't know, probably the other side caught a rock or something and it started leaking, and God bless the mechanic who decided to replace it. Now the new one is leaking. Well, the new old one is leaking. Something else I want to look in this car would be a high pressure hose. I don't think that is leaking. It's very hard to see it through this little opening right here. But high pressure hose looks wet, but I think that's the front timing cover leaking on it. Otherwise, sway bar links are good. Bushings are good as well. These are pretty good. Brakes on this side look about even with the other side. See any leaks here? So this car, I remember it, very nice gentleman. He brought it for a vibration or acceleration one time, and he's been to her shop. They've done a bunch of stuff. Couldn't figure it out. It was actually a loose U-joint. One of these U-joints. Folks, this is somewhat common on these older all-wheel drive models. As they get older, U-joints will get loose. These are not serviceable U-joints. You can't grease them, can't replace them. There's no way around them. You have to replace the entire shaft, and it's very expensive. And I remember the owner of this car, he's like, look, this is the first time I come to your shop. This is a lot of money. I've already spent a lot of money to fix this, and we're still not fixed. I'm kind of nervous. I just looked at her, I'm like, I have seen this so many times, and I stand by my work. If this doesn't fix it, I'll take it off the car, send it back, and won't charge you a penny. It fixed it because I can physically see you hold this shaft, you move them opposite of each other. It'll have a clunk, and you'll see it physically moving. This will cause a lot of vibration when you accelerate. If this is loose, like Highlanders would be the same, Sienna's all-wheel drive would be the same, and this, not the hybrid Sienna though, that doesn't have a drive shaft. Then we come in the back here. Oh, what have we here? The Mona Lisa, everybody. See, this is the kind of stuff like doing this took you more time than to replace and do things right. Luckily for this car, this is not really a huge thing because this is all that this does is aim the headlights. But if you have air suspension, do you see this? This is a disaster waiting to happen. Or you have AHC, even worse. This is a disaster waiting to happen. Don't do that. That's not pretty. But everything else here looks like these struts, they're either been replaced. This car doesn't have a lot of rust, you notice. Maybe they have been replaced, but they are originals. So they don't have any play in the sway bar on this side. Sway bar is good. Same thing with this strut. Brakes, put them around 7-8 millimeters. Outside pad, about the same. How about this side? Same, so we don't have any abnormal wear. Something common with this bushing loves to wear out. And I love when folks ask about this in the shop. So if you want to fix this, you gotta, sorry, it was not this bushing, see, it's late in the day, this bushing. So if you wanna fix this bushing, you gotta replace the knuckle. It's part of the knuckle. You can't get it separate from Toyota. Now there is some aftermarket company that you can press this out, it never works. Just heads up. You'll be back with inside of 6 months, fix it again and again and again until you get tired and you just fix it right and be done with it. So the way to know these, if you have it, this is like a big clunk over the back, and you check everything else, everything is tight. Even this will feel tight. Here's a way to find these. You can either hook up a microphone here and go drive it, you'll hear it immediately. You hook it up here, it's gone. Or you take your hand, you hit the tire on the side, and it'll start like making a very shallow rattle. You'll hear it. If you put your hand right here, you actually feel it. This one is good. How about this side? For some reason it's always that side, but let's see, this one is good. These bushings are fine. Very simple to diagnose these. Diff, we rarely have issues with these. The only thing we have seen is vent. Vent is clear. Vent is right there on these. Kind of hard to see it all the way at the very top. See how this one moves? That's how you want your vent to be. Your vent's not like that, you're gonna need to either clear it up, or here's the best part, I'll see folks spend hours trying to clear this thing up. You know, that's $10, right? Just go buy a new vent, be done with it. You won't have risks. We're good. There's no heroism in saving 10 bucks and then not clearing it up right, and then the axle seals are leaking. And one thing from experience, these bolts love to seize up, and to get the axle out to replace the seal, just don't open a can of worms. Buy the $10 part, call it a day. You'll do this maybe once every 15 years and we're good. This one is good though. That's why you have no leaks. But with this car, I don't see any other issues. Exhaust seems all in order. Everything looks in order. I like it. These tires look very new. Aftermarket wheels, not my thing, but data toward the end of 22, so they are recent tires. Nokian brand. Most folks will assume this is a no brand, like a no name brand. It's actually made in Finland. They're really good tires for winter stuff. Well, I think we don't have a lot to report on this car. We do need a water pump. We do need this belt. CV axle, unfortunately, is going to need a replacement. Something about these, when you replace the axle in this setup, you got to drain both. Do not pull this axle, because you'll immediately have transmission fluid going to the transfer case and vice versa. Disaster. You got to drain both for the passenger side only. Driver's side, we're good. The only thing we're going to report on this car is this axle. I think the other small seepages, we're going to tell the customer. Keep an eye on things, start seeing drops. Let's follow up in 6 months, follow up in a year or something like that. See how they're progressing, because if they're staying exactly the same, well, let's keep going then. Let's get started on that water pump. Let's get it replaced. I do have a video detailed, kind of step by step. We'll kind of glance over this. We'll talk about it. Kind of trying a new style of videos for you guys, because it's actually a customer car. We are super busy in the shop, and I got to get this done. So let's get it done. Let's start this. Got to drain the coolant. Don't break these bolts. They love to break in rusty land. If you live in California, leave a comment and say, we are lucky we don't have rust. Or anywhere else. Because you are lucky you don't have rust. I cannot tell you how many cars we get in the shop. And I see a few more seepages here. I think this is actually coming from the cam tower all the way to the top. Again, this car has miles. Not tripping in the ground yet, but give him a heads up on this. This is something that's coming up. Gotta drain the coolant, which is right here. Which I think this is an aftermarket radiator, because it's not sitting in the right orientation. Sitting the wrong way. That's okay. Let's see if we can get this. Usually just put a little piece of hose and just so you're not splashing all over the place. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This time I don't think it's gonna work. I think we're gonna have to make a royal mess. If you ever make a royal mess with coolant, just wash it down with water. Let's find out if we're gonna make a royal mess or not. No, so far so good. Let's find out. And if that hose doesn't all of a sudden pop out, we're good. All right, I think we're good. So in order to do this job, we gotta remove this motor mount and this one. Just loosen it, not remove it. Loosen it so we can lift up the motor. There we go. Now we're ready. Now let's just wait for the motor to finish, the radiator to finish draining, and we'll keep going at it. Let's get started here. We're gonna just put some fender covers here, and we'll get into this water pump. Not a bad water pump to do. I don't know if I want to call it a super DIY friendly, but it's actually not bad. Not bad. Not bad at all. Let's get this mount off. Got a little cicada chilling with us here. You know, if you're not, I don't know if all states get cicadas, but apparently they come every so many years, and it feels like every year I hear that, but they come every so many years, and they deafen us and during the day, and they just eventually disappear, and life is great. So I need to jack up this motor up, but before we do that, let's get this radiator hose off. Not working with me today, this hose. A little bit of persuasion. Yes. Just a little bit of persuasion. That's what I love about the original hoses. They are really strong. And you're not really afraid to push into them a little bit. So here's how we're gonna do this. I'm gonna lift up the engine, gonna raise up the car a little bit. I'm gonna get underneath it. I'm already ready with my catchment. I push that to the side. Put a block of wood. This block of wood have seen better days. We want to go right to where, close to where the drain plug is. Now I'm going to lower the car just so you can see where that sits. Let's see. We good? Yes, we are. Now let's come up and we'll lower the car. We already actually lifted the motor, so I'm gonna lift the car, see how the motor drops. Actually, we're not there yet. See how that's coming up? Right there. I think that's good. Basically, you want to get it where it's almost there, and the reason for that is, switch so you can see it. I want to get this bracket off, and you can't get to the bottom bolts without doing this. Let's get the bracket off. Loosen these. This one, I don't think we'll be able to get to it. The very bottom one. Maybe a different socket. No, maybe not. Okay. See if I can get to it. I'm moving the whole car. There it goes. Man, this guy's tight. Somebody might have been here. We're gonna find a cheap water pump in here. That's better. We get this one. Last one. You can do it. You can do it. We're gonna have to just be patient with this one. Turn it by hand. I guess this one's gonna fight us the whole way. There it goes. And I don't think we're going to be able to pull this one out. Let me see here. Move the power steering out of the way. Maybe. Well, let me get the one at the bottom. I'm gonna try new toy we got from Milwaukee, the long reach ratchet. See if the long reach works. This back one. Can't even see. This is what I call when a mechanic gets himself in a situation. There we go. No situation. There we go. That's out. Get them up. Now, I think we may have to wrestle this a little bit to get it out. Before we do, got this harness. See, I'm getting old and forgetful. Old and forgetful here. Generation 1 or 1.5. That's how you know them. And they have this bolt for the harness here. Okay, now what kind of disaster we got. Gonna have to get one of these bolts out of here. See if I can do it. I went somewhere. Find it. This one won't reach, so I'm gonna have to pull it with. This is the part where this is fun. This is the part where, hey, let's put a super long bolt here, just so we can give you extra mechanic yoga. Gonna need to lower this engine a little bit more, or raise the engine. This is pretty much the hard part of this job, because once you get this bracket out, it is very simple. Just have to find an angle where you can pull the bolt or pull the bracket. Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna move this AC line out of the way. Okay, that popped out of its place. Yes, it did. Move this AC line up a little bit and see if we can lift it up. I'm gonna get this AC line loose on the other end. I am wondering now if somebody's been here and did something with the bolts, because I don't recall this being this difficult. Just move that. I'll line it our way. You gotta be careful here. Come on, Mr. Bracket, you can do it. Switch this clamp around. It's this line. It's very close to coming out. You can do it. It's out. It's coming out. Bolt is out. Now the fun bracket comes out. I wonder what's going on. Well, I guess we can't wonder anymore because the bolt fell down. Get it in a little bit. And now let me reposition my AC line here carefully. I'm gonna leave it loose because we're gonna need to get it out. Now, I don't want to say it. I'm not gonna say it. It should be simpler sailing from here. Let's use that terminology better. It'll be simpler sailing until we get to put that bracket back. So you can already tell it's not gonna be fun. So the reason you're wondering why are we pushing the line, there must be a better way. Yeah, there is a better way. Pull the engine out of the car is the better way. We're not going to do that because we don't want people getting large bills because we don't want to spend some time and get things working. 10 millimeter here, 10 right here. There's that one more. Is this cool, Milwaukee? You gonna be able to get it? The long reach. Kind of. This thing is actually. We're saying good things about you. You got it now. There we go. Yeah, it got it. I like that. Now we pop the thermostat. Before we do, just got the bolts. Here's that long bolt that we've been fighting. If you're a car engineer, thank you. Moving on. Thermostat housing. Do have a little O-ring right here. This one is completely stubborn. Trying to pop the O-ring but not the hose. You'll see why in a second here. There it is. So now, this hose, if you damage it in any way, shape, or form, you're going to pull the intake manifold to replace it. So we're just gonna do this. It's out of the way. We're good. Here's that water pump. I don't know about you all, but I'd call that not good. I'm gonna take this idler out. I wonder if this is an original idler or aftermarket. We're gonna find out in a quick second. See, when these 2GRs first came out, these were a problem. They changed the design of them because they were open in the back, the bearing. You get all kind of debris in it. This is an aftermarket one. It says Koyo, but there's no cover. They actually added a plate here. And then this is the tensioner, which is a reverse thread. The bolt popped. Remember that bolt we put in? It popped out. But this is a reverse thread. Here's that bolt. Let's get the pulley out. Again, that does not sound good. So where are you, loose bolt? I guess it didn't loosen. There it is. Oh, I guess this one did loosen. Cool. Now the next $1 million question is, there are two types of 2GRs, the nice kind and the not nice kind. The nice kind that lets us pull the pulley out, and the kind that doesn't let us pull the pulley out.
Which one is this gonna be? Put it in the comments. Are you gonna behave or not? See, this is, they initially, and I'll tell you the story of how the warranty stuff went with the 2GR when it first came out. Initially, you had to pull the motor out to do this water pump. And they paid a lot of time to do this water pump. And people eventually, technicians, found this way, which essentially is, I mean, you're achieving the same thing without damaging anything. So in some cars, I mean, you get an Avalon, this is like, you have a lot of room. This one is one of the tighter ones, the Camry being the worst one. There's that pulley. I think we're gonna be able to get it out. Just gotta pull this stud out. And if you didn't know this, any stud that is supposed to be removed from Toyota, the tip of it is actually a E-Torx. So you can, this particular one is gonna be an E6. So this one is loose already. Bring our cool Milwaukee back. And the new pump comes with a new one of these, so you just got yourself a small little M6 stud for rainy days. There goes the pulley. This one is behaving. You see all the bearing material. Oh, that looks really bad. Glad we're doing this. Now, before we remove the water pump, we have one more idler all the way in the back. You're gonna also have to remove. You have to remove it because it covers some of the bolts for the water pump. Here's that one. And by the way, both the idler in the front and the back are the same on the 2GR. Now, in some instructions, they tell you you have to pull the power steering pump. You actually don't. That's the one thing I'll tell you. You don't have to remove it. Yes, this bolt is so close, the back one, the back bolt, but you actually do not have to remove the power steering pump. And I'm going to show you that very briefly. I switch my batteries around. We get situated to take the bolts for the water pump. I usually start with a 12mm bolts. Just get them out of the way. And then get your 10s. See if we can get it all the way in the back. I don't think so. Not with this big battery. We're gonna do this by hand. We tried. One more thing I'll tell you about this water pump, just by looking at this pulley. I do have a feeling this might end up being aftermarket. I just have a feeling. Let's see if I'm right. Because the updated water pump, the pulley is different, and you'll see that when we get the new water pump. It's very important that when you replace these, buy an original water pump. That's the first thing. Second thing, get the updated one. Don't go get some old stock on eBay or Amazon. Make sure you get the most updated part number. That one. There's one more 12 at the bottom. Get the one all the way in the back. Now there's one more 12 that is not fun. It sits all the way underneath the water pump, which we're gonna need a longer socket for. Long 12, please. There we go. All right. This is one of my favorite sockets to ever exist. 1/4-inch swivel. Love these. These are by Matco, but you can find them everywhere. Let's see if my favorite sockets will help me before we start. Taking the 12s out first, and then the 10s. Now let's see if I can go in and reach those back ones. Yes, I can. There they are. We only have 2 more 12s left. There's this one. And then there is one more, which is the one that you usually can't get to with ease, but we'll try.
definitely not happening. Let's do it by hand and see what happens. If not, we'll lift the car up. Let's try and avoid it. We got it. We got all 12s. Now all we have is the 10s. And then comes the rain. And start with the very back ones. Before we continue, it is already draining, so I want to make sure it's going in the pan. Are you going in the pan? Yes, it is. So the problem with the pan is it's hitting on the block of wood that we got supporting the motor. So we're just gonna have to go for it. If I am not mistaken. No, that's sort of 12. Oh, here it is. That's what I'm looking for. There is a bolt right here. Are you ready for the rain? It's gonna start raining here pretty soon. There you go, it's raining already. You see that? I'm gonna let it rain controllably, or maybe we'll give it a little push. It's actually this bolt. Are you ready for the rain? There goes the rain. Let's just hope we're not making a enormous mess. A medium-sized mess. I think we're good. Let's just pull the pump out. Oops, sorry. I hit the camera right there. Sorry, Jose. And there goes the pump. Are you a dormant pump? I have a feeling you are. Let's see. No? Wow, we got a survivor, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very old pump. We have a survivor. I think this is the original pump to this car too. The old style, definitely. Very small seepage here. But look at this. How much this thing moves. Look at the impeller. That is not good. I'll tell you that much. That's not good. Let's get the gasket out. Yeah, I think this has never been off. Look at the rust on this thing. I think this is the original pump to this car. It's pretty impressive that it lasted this long, being first generation. So, we're gonna give this a good clean. Run some water down. Later on when we're done, we'll get the new pump on. And then we'll proceed. Gonna use a razor blade just to kind of take off any big stuff. Follow it up with some Scotch-Brite pad just to smooth out the surface as much as possible. I'm gonna ask Jose to pull his camera back unless he wants some brake clean on it. And give us good cleaning. We'll do the final cleaning later. Gonna clean any debris from the surface. This engine does need a complete wash. We can possibly get some of this stuff out of here. At least some of it off. I'm gonna look the prettiest, but at least not covered with oil like that. This motor has seepages. It's a seeper. Let's wipe down our surface. I think that is good. Here's that new pump. See how it has these cutouts? Bring the old pump for reference. How this one is round.
This one has cutouts. This one also says ASIN 2. This one says ASIN 9A. So, 9th version of this water pump. It'll still leak. We had these leak as well, but not as nearly as bad as the old ones. The old ones, I'm surprised this one's actually OEM, unless it's been replaced at some point. Let me get the gasket in first. Some cars that don't have the AC line very close like that, you can get them in one shot. This one is not one of those. Get the gasket here. Wants to stay. There we go. And we'll get the pump. Start with my 12s just to stand it up. Okay, so although this is not exactly a DIY video, we do have one for this particular pump, but always start all your bolts on this pump before you tighten any of them. Otherwise, you will have issues. This is the bolt that's why they want you to remove the power steering pump, but I'm not gonna do that. The more stuff you remove, the more cost to the owner. We don't want to be overcharging here. I think we got them all. Let's install our idler back. Let's get our pulley on. Let's remove the stud again. Would you look at that? I just touched it and it went beautiful. Some cars, when you do this 2GR water pump, you can't remove this pulley. So you have to leave it in place as you take that bottom 12. So it becomes extremely fun. By fun, I mean not fun. 2GR, this is something about it, you know, these motors, they don't make them anymore, and it's unfortunate. They're good engines, they have their quirks, but this is a very big V6, and most of the cars that went into, they were not exactly big cars. I mean, when you sit a 2GR next to a 3MZ, I mean, this is a lot wider head, and it's a big front timing cover and all this. So turning the tensioner on, which is a reverse thread. This is the best way to tighten this one. Just put a pry bar right here, because if you tighten it without, it's just going to do this on you and it won't tighten. So you put a pry bar right there, and that's it. Whenever you put a pulley on, always spin it. That's not a bad idea, because if something is not sitting right, this will be the time to catch it, not when your belt locks up. So you get this O-ring right here. I'm able to get it. There we go. And there's another gasket here. Before we get all excited, let's put the stud back. Goes right there. So the water pump on these, when you buy an original one, it comes with the O-ring, comes with the other gasket. Other gasket has these little ribs on it. See those?
These are meant to hold it in place so it wouldn't fall when you install it. So, install this O-ring first. There's that. Then we install this gasket. See how it holds it in place? Just like that. Let's get our thermostat housing back in its place. And I broke Jose's light. How about that? Sorry, Jose. And light. Line it up with this. There we go. That's it. It's going. We're back to the fun part. Fun part's not gonna be fun. I just can feel it. This design of this line. See, this is the RX 350, this generation. 07 to 09. It is like the cross between new generation and old generation stuff. There's a lot of little things that are strange about it. One of them is the radiator. One of them is this situation here. And the other thing is the rack and pinion. I feel like the rack and pinion is a very common thing with these. It's way too expensive from Lexus. Originally, you go buy an aftermarket one. It just goes and goes and goes. Very common on these. We ought to do a full commons problems with this generation RX. If you want that, comment below and we'll get it on the list and get it done. These are really good cars if you buy the right one. Buy the wrong one though and you will be very sorry, because these are expensive, unlike the Highlander. Certain things are kind of expensive. Okay, well, are you all ready for a fight? We got the bracket to install. The same fight all over again. Let's hope it goes a little smoother this time, because that was almost not going well at some point. Let's start our fight. Now, in a perfect world, we just put this on and we're done. And that is so far from the truth. The RX is probably one of the worst ones for this, because you have this AC line in the way. So we're gonna move it up from now. Too much, because I don't want to pull on it too hard. And then somehow suspend it midway. Put the bracket halfway. Here's where that fun bolt goes. See, the next time you hear why mechanics dislike, well, we don't, I mean, I'm gonna take that back. We don't dislike automotive engineers or designers, but when they do stuff like this to us, that's when the designers of this car don't have to sit in front of the customer and explain to them why the original intended design was supposed to be for the engine to come out of the car to do this. That's not going to happen. We're not going to be spending thousands of customers' money to get a water pump done. We have to find ways around it. And people will call it shortcuts, and here it is. People will call it shortcuts, people will call it what they may, but you know what? When you're the owner of this car, and you got to spend thousands to pull the engine out for a water pump, then you will appreciate the shortcuts that mechanics find. Because this one is not a typical shortcut. This is not something we're doing wrong, per se. I mean, you are achieving the same thing at the price of straining your back, kind of fighting things, and potential aggravation for mechanics. That's why most mechanics are always stressed, because this job can take its toll. But that's our job. Comes with good times when things go well, car's fixed, customers happy. That's a good part of this job. The bad part is we have designs like this that just make you wonder, do we really have to make this bolt this long? I mean, in all honesty, all this mount does is just hold the motor from rocking back and forth. And ladies and gents, it is almost 9 o'clock at night and the phone is ringing. Shop is closed. We will get that call probably tomorrow morning. Whoever is calling, I'll return your call tomorrow morning. It's probably one of you's calling about their car or something. Actually had a lot. Today was kind of a interesting day. I have a lot of cars that we looked at, and I want to talk to the customer, get a little bit of the backstory or get some more info or tell them what we found. Today was like a record day. Nobody picks the phone. So tomorrow, first 3 hours of the day, we're not going to be touching any car. Well, hopefully this one. But we're not going to be doing anything but doing phone calls. That's, that's the part that I got to admit it now since we're talking about it. That's the part of owning an automotive shop that I never anticipated. You think about it, I've been doing this way too long. Fixing the car. You just spend the time. Eventually every car will get fixed one way, shape, or form. The part I never anticipated or gave it much thought was that I'm going to be spending a lot of time on the phone because folks bring their cars here, they want them fixed, and this is not you folks, all you see is the videos. There's a lot that goes behind running an automotive shop. You kind of have to prioritize your time between fixing the cars, which is the main thing. Diagnosis sometimes takes long and complications happen. Yes, I have an amazing crew here that they do really fine work, and I'm very proud of them for everything, and they learn daily, and I work very close with them on everything. But still, working on cars, there will always be complications, and that's just part of the job. And you have something in automotive shops called the pile up. So the pile up is you get, let's see, I should have put that on before. Get distracted by talk. There we go. The pile up is, okay, it's time to dignify the cicada here out of the way. You get a car, you're working on it. You take one bolt breaks. Okay, well, we'll drill that, we'll take care of it. Then the next one breaks, and the one after that. And it just keeps going and going and going. And you arrive at a point where you haven't even started the job, and you already have a lot of extra work. And then you arrive at the main thing that you're doing. You either find more damage, or you find, see, I know why I'm struggling with this. I'm gonna raise the car up because the motor's lifted. Forgot. There we go. That should be much easier now to put on. So you run into complications. Well, complications, you gotta fix them. And people rely on their cars. We have some cars that are, second cars, toy cars, whatever have you. But actually, majority of the cars we get are everyday cars. People need these cars to take their kids to school, go grocery shopping, go to work, take care of business for their family. And what do you tell them when you get a car, tear it apart for something, motor, whatever the case may be, and then you find something else? Well, you can't just pretend it's not there. You got to fix it right. and then you go make a call to get a parts on back order. Well, what do you do there? You basically tell the customer, well, this is out of my control, parts on back order, we gotta wait. The pileup starts when you have 3 of these cars in a day. 3 cars that needed additional stuff that are on back order. You have these 3 cars now sitting. Of course, your schedule goes, we work by appointment only, so you have appointments. People sometimes wait a long time here because we don't over schedule here, because I know how things can be, and we try to avoid the pileup. But the pileup is inevitable. Then you get next week's cars, and all of a sudden that one back order part that the customer calls you every day, is my car done, is my car done? Of course, because they need their car. I don't blame them. I'm not saying they're nagging or anything, but all of a sudden that part shows up, and now you're pushing everything behind because you need to get this car done, because these people have been without their car for a long time, and that's how the pileup starts. And if I have learned anything in doing this, we've been open now for more than 2 years. You can't let the pileup control the shop. You gotta take your time with every job. And just like I did right now, I forgot to plug in that there we go. That's better. I like that. You can't let the pileup control the shop. Take your time with every job. You get it done right. And whatever gets delayed behind that, we're not going to ship a car out until we are happy with it. Nobody's perfect, everybody makes mistakes, but if you at least went into it intending to do everything 100%, that's what I care about, honestly, the most, is that we try to do our 150%. And with that, this thing is done. Let's lift it up, throw the belt on it, and we'll wrap this job up. Let's get this belt on. We're going to do the same thing with the tensioner. I'm just going to give things a quick wipe down. We're going to do final cleaning off camera here. I want to bore you, just watching me clean a car, but I just want to get the little stuff, especially the stuff in the way of the belt. So just like we started the video, I'm going to put a wrench here, pull this. Now it's a lot harder because it's all the way extended out. I'm gonna need a stronger wrench than this. This is not doing it. Tensioner now is all the way out. It was really hard to fight the tension. Good news of that is, this is a good tensioner. Has a lot of tension. I can't even fight it with a little wrench. There we go. Put my bolt here. Hold it for us in place. Get a new belt. This is gonna be fun to install. Like. Again, 2GR has one of the strangest belts configurations. Worked on so many 2GRs over the years, and you tend to memorize the belts. This is the second configuration. Well, actually, this is the first configuration. The second configuration will be one that does not have power steering. That will be the second configuration. This one does have power steering. You can do it. I know you can. This is the strange part where the belt kind of crosses. There we go. Make sure it's sitting in all the grooves. It is. So, Now I can use my little 14. And now we're stuck. I went too far. Try this again. There we go. All right, well that's on. We're not gonna put this cover on yet because we're gonna run it, make sure there's no leaks, and clean it up. Still some remnants of coolant, get that taken care of. So this car is nearly done. It's very late at night. We kind of stayed to film this one, and we also catch up the shop because this customer really needs their car back tomorrow morning after my phone calls. We'll get this wrapped up. So if you want to know how to bleed a 2GR effectively, I have a video. I'll leave it right here in case you were somewhat following this DIY. However, I do have a DIY dedicated video for this particular water pump. It's a little bit more clear, more step by step. But the takeaway from this video is, if you hear a sound that you don't recognize with your car, investigate it. If you're a DIYer, don't just go searching what part to replace. Do your due diligence, because the owner of this car, his exact description was, I heard the noise, then it was gone. And that, let me tell you one thing, car noises don't disappear on their own, especially noises from engine. You got to identify what kind of noise you got, what's going on, investigate it. If you're not sure or you're not a DIYer, get it checked by a professional, because this car, should the owner would have said, oh, I don't hear it as loud anymore, we're good, let's just keep going, that water pump would have fell off this car through the belt. They might have been driving on the highway. By the time the lights come on, this car would have overheated and you would have potentially destroyed this otherwise healthy engine. So if you are the owner of the car, unless you just bought this car, because I also see this all the time, well, my other car didn't do that, I just bought this car, it's doing this. There are natural characteristics of each car. But if you've owned this car since it was new, or you've owned it for 10 years, 5 years, a long time, you will be able to tell that something is off. When something is off, investigate it. Now, if you're told by a professional that you trust that this is normal or this is not something of concern, now you have the facts in front of you. But at the same time, the professional just told you it's normal. If something all of a sudden catastrophic happens, you can actually go to them and tell them, hey, you told me this is normal and it's not. And that's how you get to know your mechanics. And this car is it's a decent car, does have some miles, does have a few leaks here and there. Some of the things we'll address with the customer. I think the main one being that CV boot, or the axle actually. We cannot replace that CV boot. A little bit of an expensive CV boot, we gotta drain both fluids, but otherwise this car is in decent shape. I think it's actually almost rust free in our area at least. It doesn't have a lot of rust, so that's pretty good. It's pretty clean inside and out. That water pump, surprised it lasted this long. I think that was an original water pump, or at least been replaced very early in the life of this car. And folks, this was just for my regular viewers. This was kind of a new style video we're doing. I mean, I'm always working on cars day and night. That's what we do in the shop. But we kind of went at the pace that I normally go in when we repair cars, and Jose was, say thank you to Jose because he was holding the camera the whole time. So if you like videos like this, we can try to do more of these. We are kind of restructuring things, figuring things out to make more time so we are able to film videos like that. That's why we made this second shop, so it's a little bit of a quieter area, secluded, but that's all we do all day. If you like videos like that, let us know. We will start filming them. They might not be the step-by-step DIY, but I hope they are helpful and informative enough where you pick a few things here and there, or just see the life of a mechanic or a shop owner, or however you want to call it. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. Until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.